have to discuss Gareth Southgate and his England squad for these upcoming European Championship. Who should he take to the Euros? Now, I'm not gonna sit here. I'm not gonna sit here and talk about some of these, useless topics like he's gonna take. We know the obvious: the Declan Rices, the Jude Bellinghams, the Harry Kanes. They're going. I'm not even gonna discuss. But there's some players that are potentially at risk that might not make it. Marcus Rashford, his position. Anthony Gordon, he's had an excellent season. Can he make a breakthrough to get in? What's his name? Luke Shaw at the left back position. Where do the England go for the left back position? Cole Palmer. Now, for me, Cole Palmer, him being in the squad is a joke. That should not even be a question. But for me, it's another question to be asked is, could he make the starting lineup? So there's a lot of things that I want to go. First of all, let's start off with Harry Kane. He's going to be the number 9, right? But who should go in alongside him? Now, you have an option of Ollie Watkins, who's had an amazing, amazing season for Aston Villa. That's very, very talented player. Good form. 19 goals, 19 non-penalty goals, 13 assists. He's stretchy, he has verticality, all that. He's a very, very good player. He has 11 caps for England. He started 4 games and scored 3 times for them. But you also have a guy like Ivan Toney, who has pace. He can be the focal point of the head of an attack. He's a very, very good player. But his form, when it comes to club football, is nowhere near as good as Ollie Watkins, and he had that ban for FA breaching betting rules and all that. But those are the 2 options. I think Ollie Watkins gives you something a little bit different, more runs in behind. He's a little bit of a more wild card type of number 9, while Ivan Toney gives you a little similar thing with Kane. I think of your Southgate, when you're looking at the second striker, you want to bring somebody that if you're down 1-0 against France, 70th minute, who can you trust to go on there and to get a goal, to take it to extra time? And somebody that can change the way the game is being played. Now that's up to Gareth Southgate and what he believes. But the form says you have to go with Ollie Watkins. Left back, huge problem for them. Now lately, left backs have been Luke Shaw and Ben Chilwell. Luke Shaw, he's been first choice left back, but he's been injured all season. He's barely played this season. He suffered another setback from the latest injury. Ben Chilwell, he's been injured all season, and he was not good when he played against Brazil and Belgium. He was very bad. Kieran Trippier, he's been very important for England at that left back position, even though he is a right back over the last few years. In major games, he's been playing at that, but he's been on horrible form this season. He has been playing in the World Cup qualifiers for our Euro qualifiers, like he played against Italy and all that in the crucial qualifiers, but he's been on bad form this season. But I still think just his experience will get him in there. And then you got guys like Rico Lewis or Joe Gomez. That are options. But I think that left back position is a very, very massive concern. Unless Kieran Trippier, he proves to Gareth Southgate what happened this season was just a Newcastle issue, and he's still a brilliant footballer. Now, Kyle Walker, he's the right back. Okay, John Stones, Harry Maguire, they'll be the 2 center backs. Now, who's gonna give them, backup options? Eric Dyer, who's been very, very good since he went to Bayern, and this is somebody Gareth Southgate has called up in the squad in the past, so he does have the experience with him. Um, this is not like somebody like someone else who was going to Germany who hasn't really played much with England. Then it would have been tough because Gareth Southgate tends to stick with his favorites. But this is a guy that's tend to play with that's played that went to the World Cup under Gareth Southgate. So I think his performances and his form at Bayern really give him a very good chance. I think Ben White would have been the perfect player, perfect, in these kind of tournaments, with a squad like a limited squad, a guy that can give you multiple positions that he can play, gives you flexibility, being a right back, being a center back. Now, if you want to switch to a back three, you can play him as an outside center back. He's perfect flexibility, but the perfect kind of player to have in the squad, and he's played very, very good form. He's been on very, very good form, but there's that issue, and he's unavailable for selection. Why that happened, we don't know. All that, something, the World Cup issue, but that would have been a very, very important, a very, very crucial player. But yeah, that's the issue. That's an issue for them to decide. But we gotta go to the attack now. I'm gonna go midfield later. I'm gonna say midfield for now. But the attack, Marcus Rashford, his place. He provides verticality. He can run in behind. But there's plenty of wingers that's had very, very good seasons, like a Phil Foden, that's been amazing. Anthony Gordon, that's been amazing. Bukayo Saka, has been brilliant. These are guys, Bukayo Saka, Harry Kane, Phil Foden, they're all locks. And then you got a guy like Anthony Gordon that, based on form, really deserves to get in over Rashford. Grealish is another guy. He missed the last window, and he hasn't really been in for the City squad consistently. But he was a very, very important player in last Euros. So he's a good option. And Cole Palmer, who's based on all these players, besides Harry Kane, he's probably been the most in form of all of them. Harry Kane, Phil Foden, and Cole Palmer. If you want to base on a front three of alone, just based on form, you could argue it should be Cole Palmer, Harry Kane, and Phil Foden. I'd argue Cole Palmer over Bukayo Saka. Yeah. And I definitely think he should be in the squad. So, there's a lot of maneuvering Gareth Southgate. Personally, I wouldn't. If it comes down to like a Cole Palmer or Gordon over Rashford, I would do it just because of the sheer, when Rashford typically, he performs well in international tournaments coming off of a good season. Like at the World Cup, he was good at the World Cup, but he was on a good run at Manchester United beforehand. Whenever at the Euros he was struggling. Whenever with Manchester United he was struggling, he went into the Euros and struggled even more. Ended up missing the penalty that helped them lose the Euro finals, and he didn't have a good tournament at all. He barely got to play that tournament. So I would bring in a guy like Anthony Gordon, who has been excellent this season. He will bring him on the pitch. He gives you something different, a different dynamic. Yeah, I think he's very disciplined, has good work rate. Why not? And he could play run. Now midfield. Now let's get to the midfield real quick. Now Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, forget about it. They're starting. Boom. Now the third option, you got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who has been, recently he has been injured, but he's, it's looking like he's gonna still play at the Euros. Now for me, he is the most talented player on this team, Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's very, very disrespected in the way he's been treated, in my opinion, by Gareth Southgate. A player of his kind of talent should never be on the fringes. They should build the team around him. Now, if he's defensively weak, okay, then build around that. Protect him defensively. Don't play him outright. Put him in midfield. Put him in alongside Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham. He can fit that fold perfectly. His ability to play the ball. Now, when you put him in midfield, you take away his crossing ability per se, because he's not being able to put in. But he still has brilliant control. His ability to play balls in behind. His vision. You cannot deny the sheer talent in his team. So definitely, I think he's a lock to make the squad, and I think he should be starting. But then, guys like I think Conor Gallagher, he will be very important because of his work rate, his discipline, his work rate, his leadership. Calvin Phillips, I don't think he should be picked. No, he's been so disappointing since he signed for City. Been disappointing at West Ham. Kobe Mainoo, he has a good prospect even though he's young. He's a good prospect even though he's young. He has talent and all that. But somebody that I won't sleep on is Jordan Henderson. Now his move to Saudi Arabia, obviously is not great. And then he went to Ajax, which he hasn't really been lighting up the world. But his experience, his ability to calm down the team, his leadership, his ability to be on the ball, to be composed, to move it from one end, just to be a composer, just to make the team more fluid. I think you should take him to the Euros. I really think he'll be a valuable part of the Euros. I don't necessarily he shouldn't start right away. Maybe after a few games in, ease him in back into the lineup like they did at the World Cup. But he ended up being a pivotal part of that World Cup team, and he's very, very disrespected in England just because he doesn't have the ability of a Jude Bellingham or a Declan Rice. But he's still, the way he's a composer, his experience, he will be very, very valuable for this England team. So for me, I think Gareth Southgate should definitely take him. But Gareth Southgate, he has a lot to do. We will discuss later on with this England squad. There's a lot of little here and there's, and we could go in depth with each position group.